Today we really focus on what do you want? What is interesting to you? What are you hoping for? What do you desire? And in the context of both the technology fast that I'm working on this month, I've invited many of you to join me, and creating your vision for this year, I think it's a really important conversation to talk about desire and wants. And are we ever truly satisfied? And what are we using to motivate us? So there's a lot to talk about today. I'll try and keep it short in honor of those of you that are doing a technology fast. You may or may not be listening to this during January, or you might be listening to it after the fact. I don't want you to feel like you've got mountains to catch up on. But let's jump in.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation, and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
I have created a workbook to help you go through the process of setting up a technology fast for yourself based on the episode I did last week, which is linked below. So if you want help, guided help instruction and having a successful reset for your own technology uses this year, as well as creating your vision, you can get all that information at the link below. Let me start out with this interesting concept from Thomas Aquinas. He said, "What would satisfy our desire? What would it take to feel satisfied?" The answer he came up was this: everything. We would have to experience everything and everybody and be experienced by everything and everybody to feel satisfied. Eat at every restaurant, travel to every country, every city, every exotic locale, experience every natural wonder, make love to every partner we could possibly desire, win every award, climb to the top of every field, own every item in the world. We would have to experience it all to ever feel okay. That's enough. Sadly, even if we had access to unlimited funds, time and space still have a pesky way of getting in the way. So here's the deal. I don't know about you, but in our world, and in fact, even in current culture, we are invited to be driven by our want. A lot of it's considered being driven by abundance mindset instead of scarcity mindset, instead of focusing on just what our needs are and the scarcity, focus on abundance. What do we want? What do we desire? And to create that life. Now, listen, I'm here for it. I've lived by it. But this principle, that quote comes from the book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And so as we think about the speed that we go on, both with how we're consuming technology, consuming stuff, usually via technology, it's constant onslaught, as well as what we are setting for our vision this year and how we work to achieve that vision. How does it all fit into the mix? Now, I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, right? Because I recently read this book is 10 times easier than 2 times, right? And it talks about exponential growth. And so I think I just want to look at the other side of the story, right? There's always people saying, do more, want more, be more, have more. And I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that fundamentally per se, except that this little bit of truth, this little bit of Thomas Aquinas idea that has actually been in the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, they share lots of different people over time from many different backgrounds and religions, that kind of that same idea is we really won't ever be satisfied. We are infinite beings in finite body, we just, there's something about our souls that is always going to want more. And so this honestly was kind of like the most liberating thought, because I recognize, let's talk about in the context of motherhood here for a minute. So often when I talk with moms, there's this I could do my routines, I could normalize, I could, do the daily stuff, but what I really want to do is X, Y, and Z, right? Or I feel like if I spend time doing my routines, then I can't do this thing that I really want to do. Now, first of all, I don't think that's true. I think that there's a way to do your routines and do things you want to do, because I'm living that life, with lots of kids and homeschooling and all the things. I think there is a way to do both. However, there is something really liberating in telling yourself, even if I go do this thing I want to do, I'm still going to want something else. Even if I buy this thing that I want to buy, I'm still going to want to buy something else. Even if I watch this thing I want to watch, I'm still going to want to watch something else. And for some reason, for me, it kind of like puts a check and balance in place of, okay, if I'm still going to want something after this, if I'm going to want to eat something more after this, if I'm going to want to do something more after this, right? If I could achieve this goal, I'm going to want another goal to work on, or I'm going to have another project that I want to do, or I want to reach this next milestone. Can I just be satisfied with what I have now? If I know it's a bottomless pit, then is what I have good enough? And, this might not resonate with you, but for me, it's kind of been like, whoa, interesting. Like, I am driven by wants, right? Like, I set this vision for the year and I work hard towards it. I don't think that's bad at all. But I think it's kind of like I'm trying to be the plant and the gardener at the same time, right? Like, I'm the thing that's growing and I'm also trying to make this thing grow. And instead, I could just be the plant, right? Like, I could let God work in my life. I could just let things be. Now, this isn't like a total surrendering and an abdication of things, but it does help to check your desires and not let them like rule you, right? Like, not be ruled by our wants. And we're going to actually, next week, I told you this is all about tech and visions and stuff this month. And I'm going to share another book with you about dopamine. Because you know what? In this world that we live in today, we actually kind of are ruled by our wants. So anyway, back to today and wants. This idea that we can live by principle, live by by the responsibilities that we already have instead of trying to rush to the next big thing is kind of powerful, I feel like, at least for me. And this doesn't mean like giving up and doing nothing, but as I was talking with another friend of mine, as we are in kind of a survival season for our family right now, I told her I kind of like surrendered it to the point of apathy, like just kind of stopped trying. And she reminded me like loaves and fishes, Jessica, like God, like, Jesus can do amazing miracles, but someone had to provide the loaves and the fish. And I realized I was giving God nothing to work with, right? Like nothing. And that was really a good jumpstart for me to realize, okay, there's this balance between knowing I'm always going to want more, want to do more, want to have more, want to be more, and then being content and yet still giving God something to work with. And so for me, that looks like, okay, I'm going to write in my journal and read my scriptures. I need to give God something to work with today. I'm going to, and when you if you pair this with putting your technology away, like this has been so powerful for me, right? So it's like I've put away my phone. I'm present with my people. And then naturally I think all day long, okay, what's the next loaf and fish I can give to God, right? Like we are overwhelmed. We are surviving. There's a lot of hard things happening right now. But what's the next loaf and fish that I can give to God? Knowing inherently that means that I'm setting aside that desire to scroll or that desire to escape into a movie or that desire to just, consume something else because it's easier, right? And instead it's like, okay, I can do this little baby step in organizing our homeschool room. I can do this little baby step in decluttering our kitchen cabinet. I can do this little baby step in sitting down and just listening to my kids, right? Loaves and fish. What can I give? What can I give? Loaves and fish for my relationships with my children. What's the loaf and fish that I can give for the business, right? Like sitting down and making baby steps here, trying to serve you guys a little bit more. So, when we start just doing a radical shift instead of trying to get and accomplish and do faster and faster and faster, set these really big goals, achieve these really big goals. And there's a time and a place for that. I'm a hustler. Like I know how to get things done. However, there's also this place, a beautiful place. And I feel like it's this wonderful place of both accepting that there's more, being content with what you have, and trusting God that as you continue to give little bits to Him, He will do something amazing with that. And yeah, I can also stay in my lane and know that I don't have to fall to every whim and every want and every wish and try and satisfy all those things. And I think also knowing like if you're in a season like me where you're in survival mode, you may really have to take the foot off the gas pedal on doing some of those projects or tackling some big vision things for yourselves or scaling back what you can handle as a family as far as adventuring goes or, any of these other things. And knowing that's okay, because that drive for more is inherent and it's always going to be within us. And so if you have to just set it aside for a minute, you know that it's going to be there waiting for you when you're ready to go again, right? And knowing that it's not like, just settle your mind, like be at peace with the fact that you can't do all these things right now because it's just going to be there, right? Like I can ignore that desire because I know it's not going away, and that's okay. And that's okay. But it allows you to stay more focused on what you need to focus on right now. So those are some meandering thoughts after a first week of a tech fast, after reading The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, after navigating and kind of accepting this idea of we are always going to want things. Now, what do we do with that? You know, we have this infinite inflow of desire, and in the world that we live in, we are exposed consistently to so many more possibilities of what we could desire. That, you know, it's helpful to turn that off for a little bit, you know, for 30 days, cut off everybody else's ideas of what you could possibly want, and learn to accept what you have right now, trusting God to help guide your path. And that's part of the creating the vision, right? Using this time to set aside all these outside influences and allow God to speak into your life about what you need to focus on right now for you and your family. So I hope that this has given you something to think about. This is a great time to think. This is a great month to think. Technology Fast, great month to think. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you again next week.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.